And I'd like to first of all welcome our new sponsors, who are Hempel Intumescent Paint Coatings. We're joined by Manoj and Reem tonight, so if anyone wants to have a chat with them later, please feel free. Hempel also did a CBD talk for us last year, very interesting talk, and it's available on our YouTube channel. Tonight's talk is by our committee member, Hussein, and he's going to talk about modular construction in the Middle East. So those of you online, you can just type your questions into the chat box, and everyone that's joined here, you can ask questions afterwards. For everyone that's joined us here today, there's some refreshments here. You can help yourself. For those online, we haven't figured out a way to get coffee to you yet. So I'll pass you over to Hussein, who's going to start the presentation.
Thank you very much, Dr. for the introduction, and good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining. And I hope you will enjoy the talking about modular construction. So what we are going to speak today about is a specific type of modular construction. So we are talking about PPVC part of it. And when we are talking about PPVC, we are talking about prefabricated, pre-finished volumetric construction, which you can see here on screen. So, so how we can jump? We'll jump to next slide. So I have an agenda, which you will see now on the next slide. So I will give you an introduction about Ramboll and our Ramboll Global and our strategy pillars, and then we'll talk about how these pillars are tagged with the Middle East strategy, and then we'll have an introduction about this system. We'll define the technology, and we'll talk about why it is important for the high-rise building. We'll talk about our experience in modular construction for high-rise building. We'll talk about the drivers of the technology as well as the barriers and the challenges, and how we have addressed those challenges to make this technology as a viable structural system in the industry. And then we'll take you through a Ramboll case study, which we have redesigned here in the region in Dubai. It was a collaboration between Link, one of the suppliers for the technology, and one of the developers in Dubai, Emaar, and Dubai Municipality, where we have utilized all the benefits and address all the challenges to make this as a real project. Okay, so let's start. Ramboll Global, we are more than 16,500 employees around the world in more than 300 offices, and we are in 35 countries with more than 75 years of experience. We are 200 experts in the Middle East with 6 offices, and we are calling ourselves as the partner of sustainable change with 4, let's say, themes for sustainability. We are decarbonize for net zero, resilient society and livability, biodiversity and ecosystem, and resource management and circular economy. And if you look about the modular construction, it is the heart of sustainability and for us to be a partner of sustainable change. So how the modular is aligned with the Middle East strategy. So we are supporting the MMC strategies, and in particular the DfMa, which is designed for manufacturing and assembly. And this is a very important term to understand, is that we are designing for manufacture and assembly. So we'll talk about this as well in the next slide. And the PPVC, which I have told you about. Then the MMC, it will enable us to achieve a significant sustainability themes, reduction in the waste and reduce for the labor and many other advantages. It's a pathway to decarbonize to net zero and better resource management and circular economy. So we are keen to introduce this as a construction viable solution in the Middle East. And we have addressed the challenges and provide solutions to generate that shift from conventional solutions to go to the MMC technologies. So let's define the technology. All of us knows what is modular construction. It's 3 types, and simple stick modular construction, it's known in the industry long time, like tens of years, it's there. Partial volumetric units, which is in the middle here, as you can see, maybe part of the floor, part of the facade, or a bath bod, and the PPVC application of it. And the PPVC is the full volumetric pre-finished casted volumetric units. In terms of types, we have steel construction. It can be concrete as well, and it can be hybrid. So the type, it will depend about the application, where we are using it. It depends on the height of the building. It depends on many things. So if we are talking about high-rise building, it's better to use the steel structure to reduce the weight, to reduce the transfer system, which we are going to use at the lower floors. Concrete is suitable for G+10, G+15. Yeah, it depends from a project to project. So why we think that modular construction is ideal for high-rise building? Different reasons. It is in line with the pillars of Abu Dhabi Socio-Economic Vision 2030, and in particular regarding the economic development, human resource development, environmental sustainability, and to upskill the construction workforce. It is also in line with the UAE sustainable goals, and many of them applies to the MMC construction. It is as well in line with the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, which you can see on screen, and majority of them, they have a strong market relevant to Ramboll, and they are part of the design solutions which we are providing to our clients. Again, now looking at the more practical typologies which we need for modular construction, we can see it is very easy applicable to the middle income housing, which we need here in this part of the region. 1 bedroom and 2 bedroom for the middle income has a great demand. Schools and universities, specifically the accommodation and classrooms, we can use it a lot. In hospitals, where we have the patient rooms, where we have like accommodation as well, it's very widely used. And the 3-4 stars hotels, it is very applicable. This technology is not suitable for 5 stars hotels and luxury villas and things, so it's more appropriate for this. And if we look at those 4 uses, we have a lot of this in the Middle East. So there is a strong, let's say, justification to use the technology in this part of the region. Ramboll modular experience, we have done a lot globally, and I was impressed since I have joined Ramboll like 2.5 years ago. I have visited Singapore earlier, and I was keen for my colleagues to take me personally to one of the high-rise building which was done in this technology, full modular, and I have visited it, and it's like brilliant. You cannot differentiate it from any building which is conventional. So we have a strong tradition for prefabrication in the construction and developing modular buildings since 1999. We have delivered more than 50,000 units so far. We are very active in this technology in many global markets, including United Kingdom, Singapore, Malaysia, Hong Kong, South Korea, and KSA. And we are bringing this technology now to the Middle East and working on this actively. Those are like 15 projects done by modular construction around the world, global case studies with different heights. I will show you this in a table now in the next slide. You can see modular construction can be done starting from like levels 57 stories and going down to 10 stories. So it's not limited to low-rise building, and it can be done for mid-rise and high-rise building as well. Putting those 15 cases in a table here, you can see the height of the building and even the location and the use. What is most important is the use. It can be done for the offices, residential, hotel, student accommodation, and residential as well. So there is a wide range of application to those, to the technology. Examples, you look at those examples, it's like full volumetric, and you can see pictures from the construction. You cannot differentiate from outside that this is a modular construction. So this is the Clement canopy in Singapore, residential development completed in 2019 with a height of almost 130 meters, 1,866 of concrete PPVC modules was used with a weight ranges from 17 to 29 tons. And you can see the size of the module is 3.2 meter wide. And this is very important for logistics, for transportation, for maneuvering, for a lot of things which you will see in the next slides. So starting the planning from the width of the module is very important. 3.2 by 8.5 long and 3.15 meter high. This saves 20 to 30% reduction in the construction time. One more example is the Apex House in the United Kingdom. This is as well a residential development completed in 2017 and fully operational. Height is 83 meters, 679 PPVC modules was used. It's like a tower in this area here in the middle. Here is the tower and here is one wing and here is the second wing. And you can see the tower is here and the first wing is here and the second wing is here, and all of this is PPVC. You can see the modules. You can see the modules, they are just stacked beside each other and on top of each other and supported laterally by this core wall, which is cast in place core wall. And you can see the core wall here is there, rising in the air, and the modular construction are the PPVC units are stacked on top of each other here. This picture is during the construction. One more example is the T30 hotel, commercial development completed in 2012, 100 meter high, 30-story as well. One more example is the Atria, La Trobe Street in Australia. This is a partial volumetric with a ground and partially facade and a bath pod stacked on top of each other to formulate the building. Very interesting, height 130, 285 partial modules, and weight, the largest module is 26 tons stacked on top of each other. Mapleton Crescent in the United Kingdom as well, residential development completed in 2019 with a height of almost 90 meters, 27 stories, PPVC units done of steel structure with a 30-meter reduction in time. So drivers and benefits of the technology. I think driver, there is, I have put it in one slide only. All of us knows the drivers, and there is a lot of advantages for modular construction. It can reduce the cost, higher productivity. We can reduce the manpower a lot severely on site, and it can be even more than 30% reduction. It can reach to 60 and 70% reduction. You need just people just to connect the modulars, and the majority of the manpower we need it in the front end when we are doing the foundation design. So reduction in the timeline of it, improved site safety, and many other things. However, I would like to focus on the barriers and the challenges of the technology and how we can convince the important stakeholders to overcome those barriers for this technology to be really a viable structural solution, and let's see, efficient solution as well. So cost and developers buy-in is very important. Manufacturing and the procurement is one more important point. Logistics and transportation, and then permitting and stability. So how we have to convince developers, and there is very important thing which we need to understand about modular construction. It is unlike conventional construction. In modular construction, all the stakeholders involved in this needs to speak to each other from day one. The developer, assume we are talking about MR, he needs to know who is the vendor, who's going to do his modular construction. He needs to speak to them from day one and make sure that they can manufacture the design, the architectural design intent. They can provide the width they require. So it is very important for developers to enable the modular construction. How? They must promote the typologies and reduce the bespoke floor plans. And this is applicable for the uses which we have said about the middle income, about the accommodation. So you look at this tower, G+40, it consists of only 6 typical modules which are replicated for the 40 floors. So in this way, we can like promote the modular construction, mass production. It's just only 6 modules. It can be, of course, 12, 15, 20 for this high rise, but it cannot be 200 different types. Otherwise, there is no like efficiency in the design. And as well, this equation, which you can see on screen, it is the profitability of modular system, regardless what modular system we talk about, if it is automobile, aerospace, modular construction. It depends on the scope and lifespan and the efforts. So once we have the scope is big, then the profit will be big. And when I'm talking about big scope, I'm talking about high-rise building. I'm talking about thousands of modules. Then it will become more efficient. Lifespan, we must change our preconceived views about modular construction of being a permanent structure. We should start think about modular construction to be permanent structure. Design life 50 years, 70 years, 100 years. And that's why we can get the benefit. And you can see the efforts is in the denominator. So this means that when the effort is less on site, then the profit is very high. So we need to focus on this scope, lifespan, and efforts. Again, developers needs to build good relationships with modular suppliers throughout the world. And this is what I have said in the beginning. They need to know them. They need to collaborate. Actually, they will be their architects in a way or another. So they need to know them very well. And as well, the developers must work with engineers to make that design more amendable to factory production. I mean, this is related somehow to the typology thing. They need to think about what is happening in the factory. So making this typical, making this amendable to factory settings, it will help. As well in the procurement, we have started to talk about manufacturing and the procurement. When we are talking about PPVC and modular construction at a large scale, we should start thinking, bringing those vendors to be there in the region. Because if we are going to do like in a big scale here, and we think to like export or import everything from the UK, it will be very expensive and it will not be efficient. The carbon emissions, it will be very high. So in all aspects, we need to think that we need to increase the footprint of the suppliers in the Middle East for this technology to be efficient. So changing the mindset, we need to start with that. And then when those developers think that the Middle East will be a good market for them, definitely they will come. And by the way, in Dubai here, we have like 2-3 big names who are working on this and producing the PPVC here in Dubai and export to the UK because it's cheaper. So we have the strong infrastructure, but we need to expand it. Now, one important thing about modular construction is the integrated delivery strategy. As I have said, early contractor engagement is very important to have them on board. So while we are doing the foundation and piling and substructure, the early works, the modules will be manufactured on site. And then once the enabling work is done, we'll start with the site assembly. And by a well-coordinated delivery strategy, we will be able to achieve the full benefits of the modular construction. One important thing about logistics and transportation, not every project we can do in modular construction. If it is in the city center and we do not have a specific like site yard just beside it, assembly, collection, to have the modules delivered, staged, and constructed. It's very important to consider this location of the project and the timing as well. It's not necessary to have the yard. Maybe we can deliver at midnight, but the streets, size of the streets, is it accessible to the big trucks or no? So we have to think about logistics, not only just blindly. Again, size of it, the width, height, and craning. Can we do this? This is as well some of the challenges which we need to think about it. So we have to reduce the width of it as much as we can. Modular construction is like 3.5 meter, 4 meter is the maximum reasonable width of the unit. It can go like as up to 2.5, 2.6, very ideal. Here in I will show you in the case study which we have done what is the applicable width of the modules here in Dubai. We have coordinated this with the RTA. We have a full study. I will show you in the next slides. Permitting and stability, it's a challenge as well in this part of the region. Permitting, there is no problem with like low-rise building. I'm talking about G plus maybe 5, G plus 6, G plus 7. However, when we start to talk about higher than 10 floors, then municipalities and legislation bodies start to, you know, they start to have concerns, and they start to have a lot of questions and a lot of things which we were dealing with in that pilot project which we have done with Dubai municipality more than 1 year, more than like 20 meetings with them just to convince them with the system, to convince them with the lateral stability, connections, diaphragm design, and a lot of other things which I will come across shortly. So in terms of stability, when we are talking about maximum 10 stories, so braced core at the middle is fine and fair enough. It's enough to like have the lateral stability of the building. If we have up to 20-story concrete, reinforced concrete core wall system is enough. However, when we have like higher than 20 stories, up to 30 stories and higher, we have to use the combined system with the core wall plus the bracing. I mean, the units themselves, they need to have cross bracing so that the whole system will work together as a strong unit. And this is like the rule of thumb. Everything is subject to further analysis and the requirements of the job. Diaphragm action and connection design. Then when we'll start have, you know, the structural engineer needs to imagine how the forces will travel and the transfer. And this is part of an integral part for us as structural engineers to understand. So vertically, majority of the modular construction in high-rise buildings, they will like depend on a core wall system for the lateral stability. And then the outside systems, all of those are the modules you can see beside each other. And then when we have, for example, the wind forces coming here, all the forces will travel through the diaphragm. And the diaphragm, either if it will be like a concrete floor at the middle, at the bottom of the diaphragm, it will travel through the connections at the end of the day. Everything will travel through the connections from connection to connection, and then it will transfer globally to the core wall in both directions. This is how it will work, and we can see this in detail in the detailed analysis. So this is part of the challenges which we have faced into permitting and the stability of this, just not to prove it's stable, just to convince the local authorities and to convince ourselves here in this part of the world that this is a viable structural solution. So this is the case study which we have done between MAR, Link as a supplier and vendor for this. This is with Link is a part of ALIC, and they have a factory in Jabal Ali. They are producing those PPVC units, and we have done the design for this building. It's like almost 50 meter high building, G+11, and we have submitted this to Dubai Municipality full design, and we are almost there, like 99%. We get the building permit for it. We are just discussing the detail of the connections between the modules, and we have agreed with them whatever is applicable for G+11, it will be applicable for G+30, G+40. It's the same concept. Those are the stakeholders, Ramboll, Dubai Municipality, AMR, and Link. As I have said, this is like the brief design, structure, architectural, project information, how it works. So this is the floor plan, and we have said how we have addressed the challenges. Then AMR promotes the modular typical construction, very basic, middle income. You know, this is not a very luxury building. So we have studied that, and we have ended up with 2 modules only for the entire floor plan, which is a typical 11 stories. So it is M1 and M2, 2 modules replicated all over the place. So this is enable the factory production. 2 types of it, steel structure and concrete structure. You can see this is the option 1, where we have here the modular type 1 concrete floor. We can see here there is concrete floor and steel box and the cross bracing at the high level. And we have metal roof sheet, cold form steel purlins. In this, the second option, we have gypsum board floor and cold form beams, and gypsum board roof and cold form steel purlins. And again, it depends about the purpose of it. It depends on the like acoustic requirement. It depends if it is 2-star hotel or 4-star hotel. It depends a lot of things in terms of use and about the requirement as well. So this is a section about, this is a typical module, how they are stacked on top of each other. So this is like the lower module here, and this is the above module. They are connected with each other with connections here, bolted connections. And when we have started the review with Dubai Municipality, they said, okay, if we want to agree this, it needs to be all welded. We tell them, come on, guys, how come to weld all the modules to each other? So then we'll start just to break the problems down one by one until we have agreed everything to be bolted, because this is the basis of the modular construction. It needs to be bolted. The modules which we have used is 3.4 meter wide, 4.95 meter high, and 6.83 meter length. And we can see we have done a comparison between the Dubai truck standard size and the Link modular size, and we can see that the width we are providing is 3.4. However, as per RTA regulation, if the width of the module is less than 3.5 meter, the fee is 20 dirham only, and we do not need a special permit from them. If the width is more than 3.5 meter and the height is more than 4 meter, then the permit is 200 dirham, and it needs like a special treatment if it is. So we should be fine on this and coordinated. So such things which we need to consider when we think about modular construction. The site is less than 40 minutes away from the factory to transfer the modules. And as well, cranes are selected to lift both module 1 and module 2 with different locations on site. All of this needs to be considered as well. And part of it is during construction, the way how you are going to lift the modules, if it is 4 points, 6 points, or from the top or from the base of the module, all of this needs to be studied with advantages and disadvantages, and for the modules to be designed accordingly. And by the way, one of the important things is the shipping. If we are exporting from outside or importing, stacking the modules on top of each other as well needs to be considered. Dubai Municipality approval roadmap was followed with everything related to not only structure, for the civil defense, roads and transportation, اتصالات, DIWA, like everything, fire, life safety, everything was followed and the system was reviewed with them and get approved. This is the lateral force resisting system for this project. Again, like what we have discussed before, core wall and the modules are stacked on top of each other. And here we have a transfer system, transfer beams, or sometimes a transfer slab, just to transfer the loads to the foundation safely. Permitting and load bath. We have studied the load bath in details, and I have provided as well a snapshot from the ETABS model. We have modeled each and every module with each and every bracing, either if it is a plan bracing or vertical bracing, and the load bath was studied in details in this, and that was a requirement to study the behavior. So this is a snapshot from the model for this building, and we can see how the core walls are provided in different locations to distribute the loads and the directions in X and Y for the wind and for the seismic loads. And again, if you think about it, the load will transfer, it will come to the facade, and then it will go to the internal connections, and from connection to connection until it reach the core wall with a specific mechanism on it. We have as well studied the robustness of it, either by removing internal columns or external columns, and we study how the load bath will be there if there is, for some reason, any failure in one of the columns. This is the vertical load resisting system as well for each and every module, standalone module. This is the connections design. We have like more than several options, by the way, and the options of the connections, it depends about how the connections are accessible from inside the module or from outside the module. Most probably on the external facade, we shouldn't have any connections. It shouldn't be visible. So it depends about if it is like an access from inside the flat or from inside the office, if we are providing this. So it's like a plate and the bracket or bolts through beams or through columns. And this is like a simulation for the connection. We have studied as well the eccentricity where the connection is provided here, because it's not, you can see that the diaphragm is a little bit above. This is the ceiling of the lower module, and this is the ground of the upper module, and the connection is done at this point, and the forces are transferred at this level. So we have studied as well the eccentricity on the connection design to cater for the different, even if this is like, it's not a lot, it's like 10 centimeter, 15 centimeter. However, we have studied this as well. And this is a snapshot from the ETABS model. And this is another one. And you can see here, all the modules are modeled with each and every cross bracing, with the core walls, with a complete detailed analysis in here. And of course, the ETABS model, at the end of the day, it's like a tool which we are utilizing to make sure about the stability. But in terms of as well the engineering sense and the logic, it's working nicely as well, to consider that the forces are transferred into the connections. It was an interesting discussion and to get that experience. So this is like a final, before I end my speech. We need to like take inspiration from the automotive and aerospace industry. we can see that there is like a lot of developments in the automotive sector. We can see where we are now. It's fully automated, and the aerospace as well. However, in the construction, we are still behind. So it is the time to start and think all together how we can push this technology further hand in hand. So we need to change the preconceived views from resistance to an opportunity to innovate. This is the final message which we are having. And I can see that strongly there is a change in the direction. I'm happy to answer any questions you have. I hope it was beneficial.
Thank you very, very much, Hussein. A very, very interesting insight into modular construction. Does anyone here have any questions? I'll just pass you the microphone.
Hussein, thanks. That was a nice presentation. One of the things that you did talk about was civil defense approvals that you took. So again, you're using steel extensively in this construction, and we know in the time of a fire, steel generally starts to lose its strength and things starts collapsing. So what steps do you take for fire protection, especially because these are living quarters, primarily houses, right? So there could be fire coming out. So how do we prevent the steel from collapsing at higher temperatures?
Look, I think it is the same. It is the same like any other steel building we are designing, regardless if it is modular construction or not modular construction. Like imagine you are designing a G+40 building done by steel structure, but in the conventional way, the same process. And this is the logic which we have approached the civil defense. Whatever measures is required, cementitious, paint, or any other process is required to achieve the 2 hours, 3 hours, 1 hour, as per the requirement we are following the same approach, same thing. And we shouldn't be thinking about this as because of it is modular construction, there should be something different. The same approach we are following for the conventional construction, we are following here. So whatever is required as per the code, as per the function of the building, as per the space, we are following the same thing. So it's the same. And here is the question, the logic about how we thought about this. We are asking ourselves, what is the difference between the modular construction and the conventional construction? So at the end of the day, we will be following the same approach, how it is. Any other questions? Mr. Angelo.
Thank you. Okay, thank you. Angelo from BK Modular. At the beginning, you made the description that is quite rightly, the developer has to engage the designer as well as the modular developer, manufacturer. Of course, that's the right approach. Nevertheless, in the market, as you're quite aware, there are several of those modular developers or manufacturers. By engaging the modular manufacturer early, it almost excludes all the others from this particular project, as they each have their own different techniques, method, and equipment. So do you perceive that it is advantageous for the economy to sort of allocate one particular modular manufacturer with one particular project, as that could be against competitive nature, or will it be more prudent for the designer to come along with a module which can be manufactured by a range of other manufacturers, hence opening the market for more competitive approach to the developer?
Thanks, Angelo. Very interesting question. As I have said, it is like a collaborative effort. So it shouldn't be, it's like the whole stakeholders needs to agree all together how they are going to run this. And again, going to a single vendor is not the correct approach. It needs to be the developer needs to widen his knowledge about several vendors, because if the developer tie himself with vendor X, he may not give him the best value of what he needs, because he has the vendor X, he has a specific approach, he has a specific capacity, he has a specific design, he has a specific, let's say, approach to design the modular construction based on what he has in his factory. But maybe vendor B, vendor C, vendor D can provide that developer with a more high end value rather than developer A. So what we are pushing is for developers is to increase their base of knowledge and to increase their communications and to know who are there, the best developers in town, to start to talk to them all, not to one or two or three. So I think the ideal case is to speak to all the developers and to see who can provide the best value for them. Yes.
We have around 50 online on YouTube, and one of our question is asked, what software did you use to analyze the connections? How does the module to concrete interface work?
So we have many, we can use any of the softwares for the connections design. The issue is not with the connections design. The issue is with the load transfer between them. I think there are many. We are using my guys are here, IStructE we are using in the office. So this is like an example of it. But I think the idea here is to make sure that the connection of the force is the right force we are taking to the connection one. And what was the second part of the question?
The second part was, how does the module to concrete interface work?
It's like it's a standard connection between steel and concrete. Standard connection, nothing different. You have a force coming in the steel members and it will be connected to the core wall. So the same thing, same approach. We have a force and we have to design that connection for that force. Shear, tension, compression, the same approach.
We have many questions, but few only we will ask. Why precast concrete core wall was not used?
It can be used. It can be used. This is what we are providing here is like an example of what can be done. However, look, the precast, it needs to be proven that it's robust enough for high-rise building, because there is like some connections and some parts of it not connected to each other. We need to focus on the connections, vertical and horizontal connections, if we are using precast walls. But it can be used as well. It's part of the design options.
Thank you, Hussein. Another question online was, may not be applicable for Dubai at the moment, but have you considered any timber frames rather than the steelwork?
Yeah. There was a couple of examples where we have done modular, but that one was partial, which we have done it. There is a library in the UK, which we have done it, but it was like partial modular. It can be done as well, but I have not included that example here. It can be done.
Thank you so much for the presentation. I have one question. Maybe it was answered there, but maybe I didn't follow. So when you're using this modular modular item, does it mean that the facade should be there included all the time? Because if it's not, then if it will be installed separately, then it will affect the way how facade is designed and all that. Right.
See, if it is, let me say that the modular construction will not be appropriate for complicated facade design. The facade needs to be simple for the modular construction to work. However, if you think about, for example, if you need to add on members or maybe balconies, some of the projects which we have done modular construction, the balcony, we have not installed it with the volumetric unit. We have done the volumetric unit, and then the balcony is just only a couple of meters wide with the parapet of it. It's plug and play. It has like some specific slots with a module, and then you will have the balconies as like separate items. You will get it just plug and play, grouting, finish, grouting, finish. So I agree with you. The modular construction shouldn't be appropriate for sophisticated undulating facades. It will not be appropriate. Or we are doing Sindala Island now using modular construction. It's very fancy facades, very fancy undulating slab edges. So what we are doing there is we have split the building into a modular part and another part which we call it bespoke part. When it comes, if there is like very complications on the design. So this project, which it's in the Middle East and we are working on it, we are building the whole modular thing, and then that part, if it's too complicated, we'll do it bespoke, like cast, not like on-site construction if it's too complicated. Any other?
Yeah. Anyone else got any other questions? Any more, Hemant?
Yeah,
yes.
We have one interesting question. 1 minute. It is about parametric modeling. Did you use parametric software to enable the model to be created?
Yeah.
Something parametric?
Actually, we have started to use parametric modeling, but to be honest, this is applicable to the more sophisticated geometry rather than these standard boxes on top of each other. So this is the modular construction. It's very standard. It is more appropriate to standard structure boxes on top of each other. However, if we are talking about like different projects where we have like fancy architectural models and like undulating surfaces, changing design, changing facade. Yes, we are using Rhino, we are using Grasshopper, we are using like a lot of scripts to interact the softwares to each other. So definitely we are. Yes.
Hi, thanks for the presentation. This is Nikhil from Al-Badat. We are doing some modular structures as a small scale, let's say G+1, let's say. We are facing a lot of issues in MEP services. How you tackle this and what are the special consideration? Are you taking any special consideration for the MEP or something like this?
Of course, it needs to be coordinated, the MEP. It's an integral part of the modular construction, and the PPVC unit needs to came to site and installed with all the services in, just only tie-in points. And you will have like the vertical shaft from the top module and from the lower module, and we need just to connect them to each other. So it should be coordinated as well. The good thing about modular is that, and it's like advantage and disadvantage. We have like two floors for each, the floor of it and the ceiling of the top modules. So there is normally a space between them. So we are utilizing that space, maybe 30 centimeter, 40 centimeter, to be a distribution for the services, to fix everything in it. And to be honest, what is most important for the modular construction is the stacking effect, because the shafts and risers and all of those services needs to be on top of each other. If we start to change of this, it will be very complicated, and we need to allow for a transfer zone between them to tackle for the MEP services. So at the end of the day, it is very similar to the conventional. It needs to be coordinated. It needs to be allowed in. But for the PPVC, everything is installed. Just when we put them on top of each other, it needs to be connected pipes, risers, everything, and it has like provisions for that. You're welcome. Any other questions? Yeah.
Thank you. It's interesting, one of the points, and that is the title you gave to the presentation, Modern Method of Constructions. Just want to bring you back a few years, but I started with one particular job in 1988, which was the BBC headquarters in central London, okay, where all the toilet and kitchenettes were prefabricated I can't remember, I think it's in Scotland, where delivered and all stacked one on top of the other with a plug and play technique of service connections. So modern, I love to be considered modern as it is now.
Thanks, Angelo.
I will add, like construction industry US, they came up a term PPMOF, pre-assembled modular off-site construction. So like modular construction is there in oil and gas industry, offshore wind structures, and artificial island where we cannot send labor. Accommodation is a big issue, or a cold country where it cannot be done. So modular is only solution.
Yeah. Agreed.
Okay, there was just a couple of comments really online, just saying that it's encouraging that you've engaged with Dubai municipality and that they're receptive to the idea. So that's really encouraging for the future. So once again, thank you very, very much, Hussein, for an excellent talk. Just to note, everyone, that all our CPD talks are saved on the regional group's YouTube channel, so you can get the full list of all our talks that have happened since COVID. And again, thank you very much to our sponsors, Hempel, who are with us here today, and you're free to ask them questions after the talk. So with that, we'll bring the talk to a close, and we'll see you in April for after Ramadan for our next CPD talk. Thank you very much.
Thanks.